Hello everyone and welcome to Soufrière today, where we try to answer some of your frequently asked questions about the eruption at Soufrière, St Vincent. My name is Omari and today I'll be sitting in for Stacy. With me today is our Director Dr Erouscilla Joseph. Everybody calls her Pat. Good morning, Pat.
Morning, Omari.
All right, nice. So just quickly, as we haven't had one of these episodes for a while, could you give us an update on the activity at the volcano?
Yes. So over the past month, or since April the 22nd, I should say, the volcano has, the activity at the volcano has steadily declined. In the last month, that decline in seismicity has been consistent. It's also showing a lack of deformation as well as a mean or an average, a consistent average flux, which is about 500 tons per day. So it's been fairly, I don't want to say stable, but it has shown consistent behavior and activity is continuing to decline.
Great. And we hear a lot about flux. What exactly does that mean? What does that tell us?
A flux is not a concentration. So sometimes we often confuse flux and concentration. So flux is actually a volume, a measurement of the amount. It's a mass. So it's so when they are doing the gas measurements, they do it from, sometimes you would see the measurements are being done by boat, or sometimes it's being done by helicopter when the helicopter was available. And what they're doing is scanning the plume, which is the gas concentration that's being emitted from the summit of the crater, summit of the volcano, and that's coming out in a plume, and they scan the plume for a measurement of the content of the plume in terms of the mass of SO2 that's being emitted. And then they take several measurements and do an average of that. So it's averaging around 500 tons per day.
Great.
And it's been fairly consistent.
And I know a lot of work has gone into restoring the monitoring network. Could you tell us how that's been going?
Well, that's going in some fits and starts. As most people would have known following us, we did lose about 30 to 35% capacity after the explosion, the series of explosions, and primarily our summit station was gone. And some of the stations to the north, that's Fancy and Oya, they're currently not communicating because of the loss of the network, the communications infrastructure on the north of the island. So it's not that the instruments are not there, it's just that we can't connect to them because of the communications issues. So what we've done is we've physically gone in with the helicopter, and I think their plan is to go by boat again soon and download some of the data physically. And then process that. We've done that once already at Fancy, but Oya is a bit more challenging. So that is a little more technical. Other than that, new stations are being installed. So most people would have already known that the summit was a priority with the helicopter. That's 90% complete. This week, I know the field team, Mr. Lynch and Mr. Williams, Spiker Williams from the Montserrat Volcano Observatory, they're actually going to go up and try to complete that installation and get communications to the station restored. Unfortunately, well, in addition to that, there's plans for 2 other seismic stations to go in. That's at Greg's. And Fitzhughes is already in, but it's not streaming into SRC, but it's streaming into the observatory. And we also have 1 tilt meter already in place at Bamboo Range, and another one that is tentatively, is being prepped for, I believe it's London or Waterloo, I'm not sure. Yeah, well, London is in Waterloo, I think. So that's the gist of the station. Unfortunately, with the passage, now you mentioned Hurricane Elsa. So Hurricane Elsa did do some damage, not so much with the network, but with communication. So currently we have 2 GPS stations that are not communicating automatically. And we have 1 seismic station, Walibu, which is one of the closest stations to the summit that's not communicating due to internet issues. Apparently, there's a network called the G1, and that was affected by the passage of Hurricane Elsa. So I know that the authorities are aware of it, and they are working to see what could be done to restore that communication.
Okay, so Elsa had an effect on the monitoring network, but did it have an effect on, let's say, the material that was already deposited during the eruption and that sort of stuff? Did it cause any lahars to be triggered?
Yes, there were 6 lahars triggered. Well, I shouldn't say triggered, I would say detected by the existing network. And these were as a result of the heavy rainfall brought on by the passage of Hurricane Elsa. The thing about it is that with heavy rainfall at any time, even without a hurricane passing, the materials will continue to be remobilized. The thing with Elsa is that it's very concentrated, heavy rain and volume of rain. So it means that the flows that would have been generated because of that, the volume of rainfall in such a short space and time, that would, of course, have mobilized a lot of the material and caused probably very much heavier volumes of flows, more powerful flows than a normal, torrential rainstorm,
Right.
would do.
The volume of rainfall. So we can expect there to be a continuation of these lahars every time there's a rainfall event.
Every time there's rain, particularly in the north around the area of the volcano, we would expect some remobilization of material on the flanks, and that can go on for a very long time. I mean, if you think of Montserrat, lahars still happen, and the last explosion was in 2010. I mean, due to the volume of material there.
Right.
So it's unfortunately it's a problem that will not go away anytime soon.
Okay. So the people may not know, but in addition to being the administrative head, you're also a very capable scientist and you're a geochemist by training. So now that you're in St. Vincent, could you tell us a little bit about your plans for your time in St. Vincent?
Yeah, so well, thank you, Omari. Unfortunately, my area of study involves direct sampling of fumaroles and hot springs. So while I'm here, unfortunately, the areas of fumaroles is directly in the crater, and it's still too dangerous for us to get in there and sample the gases directly, which is why I'll be assisting in other aspects of the monitoring, such as the ground deformation. So we may do some together with Dr. Karen Pascal, who's here from the MVO, who will be my fellow field team member. I will assist with ground deformation as well as the gas flux, sulfur dioxide gas flux measurements, and in addition to that, providing updates to the authorities, continuing to liaise with NEMO on any monitoring issues that come up. If there are any tasks that are left over from when Mr. Lynch and Mr. Williams leave, then I will have to work alongside the SMU to try to get those sorted out as best as possible so that we can get the monitoring network in a working state that we're comfortable with.
And how long do you suspect scientists from the SRC and the MVO may be at the Belmont Observatory or just on island in general, keeping an eye on things?
Yeah, so our commitment at the moment is to have a constant on-island physical support up until December of this year. Plans are in place, I believe, for local personnel or staff to be hired to be at the observatory. And the plan is, of course, to have them hired by the authorities as soon as possible so that we can integrate them into our monitoring. They would learn, our operations and work alongside us, but they will be the on-island support.
Great.
So physically on island, we're committed to at least December.
Lovely. So Pat, thank you so much for taking the time to answer some of our questions here at La Soufrière today. And as we go, we'd just like to remind persons that access to the summit, to the volcano, is still restricted, and persons should not try to venture very close to the volcano. And of course, the UE Seismic Research Center and NEMO remain the official sources of information on the volcano. So thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.